and that's what we are thinking of. Actually, we need aggregator of aggregators, because even at aggregator level, you'll find so many minuscule level of energy saving potentials, which can ultimately culminate to another level of aggregation to make a sizable impact on the DISCOM. So that's where we are actually functioning on. We are creating a platform wherein we would be inviting aggregators to come on board, so that those aggregators, जैसे बोलते हैं ना सर, बूंद बूंद से घड़ा भरेगा, वो वाला system we are trying to do, so that it makes a definite impact on overall system. We are not planning, actually we are already doing it, sir. We are in execution phase now, though in the early stages. We are expecting to be ready. I'm definitely putting a pressure on Arjun by saying this, by end of this year, to be live on the very first phase at least. But we see that we as ESL have been able to do market transformation through energy efficiency based solutions. This is a new terrain for us, but we are very confident of doing good to have our own share of contribution in making demand flexibility as a viable solution for Indian market. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abhishek ji. That was very useful, and I think I'm very sure not only the nation but the world is going to watch, because the way ESL created the stewardship with Ujala, I'm sure we're looking for mimicking that in the demand flexibility space as well. Arjun?
Great. Thank you, Mahesh ji and Abhishek ji. My question is to Mukesh ji from BYPL. So, from the perspective of DISCOMs, we just heard about what aggregators can do. But what do you think are the most effective business models that can help aggregators get off the ground and work closely with DISCOMs?
Yeah, thank you, and good morning all. So first, to give a little bit of perspective and background about why we need this demand flexibility. So although demand response has been there in the utility sector for years, now perhaps we require a proper regulatory and policy framework under which we can play the things around. And if I talk about Delhi, then perhaps the top 5% of the load hardly remains for 1% of the year. So the conventional ways to address this thing is that continuous network expansion, and this thing, I don't think that India is going to face any more energy shortage in terms of generation in coming years, because we are already at a surplus stage. But there could be some network related congestions, and especially if I talk about the metro cities like Delhi and Mumbai, then space constraint is the big problem. So there has been a quite steady approach for designing your network just by looking at the peak figure. What was the peak this summer? And with the required level of redundancy, or maybe N-1 level, my network should be able to deliver that much of power. Immaterial of this thing that load will remain 0.5% or 1% of the time for the whole year. So that's the kind of situation we are facing for the years. And our total capex and this thing is going towards that, and the average utilization of the network is gradually decreasing. So, and the second reason behind it is the increasing penetration of renewables energy, which inherently brings intermittency and variability into the system. You never know when the output of these solar plants or wind plants going to change, and this thing. So supply side uncertainty is there, and then we have this network congestion scenario coming up very fast. So both these things together put pressure to have some sort of demand flexibility, whether we can have demand following that supply according to supply. And that's where this all demand flexibility, demand response, or DSN things come. And we as a utility have been working towards devising new models and new technology to have this demand flexibility. Earlier as well, We have done some pilot around manual demand response. Then we also did at a small scale, maybe around 50, 60 household, the automatic demand response. And the results have been encouraging. And now perhaps with some more pilot projects at some larger level, we should approach to respective regulators to give us a proper framework under which the consumers can be compensated. As far as models are concerned, it's clear that Indian conditions are entirely different, and then no model from the European or American market we can directly borrow and implement it. We have to customize, and don't forget the important role of utilities. Utilities has to play a key role in terms of any sort of business model or programs. Onboarding of consumer is a very, very important step, and that's where the role of utilities is very, very essential. So at this stage, perhaps we are exploring the different models. Aggregator role is important because he will bring the technology, the platform, and other things. Utility role will be there to onboarding of consumer and to buy that flexibility at an appropriate rate determined by respective regulators and all these things. So initially, for exploring the models, I see a collaboration between all the parties, the consumers, most important stakeholder, then the aggregators, then the platform provider, and then obviously the center point will be the utilities. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mukesh.
Yeah, thank you, Mukesh. So now let's turn to Mr. Atul Bali. Mr. Bali has been championing the National Smart Grid Mission. And so at the national level, if the NSGM were not there, we wouldn't have seen the penetration of the smart meters that we see in the country right now. So there is a clear role for Ministry of Power to play, or the central government to play in pushing some of this. So I would like to sort of request you to talk to us about what are the top 3 things that the central government can suggest to be carried out so that demand flexibility becomes successful.
Thank you, Maheshi. And at the outset, I must congratulate at least the AE and basically Mr. Satish Kumar ji and his team. Basically, I was going through the agenda topics and all that. And I think that also formed the basic of that. I was looking through a topic which has been, I think, dwelled upon yesterday. That was basically from funding to financing energy efficiency. So taking a cue from Mukesh, what has been spoken, I think first is the need of having that. Do we really require this demand flexibility? And if there is a need is established and very well propounded, then whether we have the ecosystem. And third, whether we can really adopt it as a business model, business case. I think these are the 3 things we need to address upon. Yes, it is very much required. Going by the penetration of RE not into the entire transmission domain area and all that. And when we talk of demand flexibility, of course, demand flexibility and resilience is very much required at the national grid level. And we are fortunate to have a one nation, one grid, one frequency, one of the largest network in transmission sector. And going by the transmission capacity and everything, nearly 5 lakh kilometers, circle kilometer of transmission network we have in the EHV system and all that. And we are very much able to manage that grid in a real-time manner and a one frequency level. And depending on the geographical scenario, we are able to match the demand from various regions, and we are very much able to do that. But of course, there is some requirement in that also, because as the growth is going on and we are a developing country and we have targeted 2047, that is the Viksit Bharat and all that. So these all requirements have to be met. But when we talk about the demand flexibility, one generally talk about an NHM is primarily focusing on the distribution side. That is very much required. That is very much the need has been established. Now going with the smart metering and all that, but we have done pilots. So that pilot business case has been established. Earlier session also it has been dwelled upon or touched upon that 250 million smart meters are being deployed across the country. And that is the way forward. Now we have a data visibility behind the meter. We know in real time what is happening. And of course with the RE penetration and everything and intermittency of that, we need to manage the grid. We need to manage the peak load and all that. How to manage that? Whether this demand flexibility will provide the tool for that, definitely it has the potential. Different models are being propounded and being utilized, like California, UK talked upon. Definitely we have to adopt it, but as per our requirements. In our case, this funding has to go into the financing model, whether it is going to deliver the benefits. And in that regard, I think very much the requirement what we are asking for, we need to have proper regulation in place. Definitely, MERC and certain state RCs have taken an initiative in that regard. And like RPO, I think that demand flexibility provision have to be maintained to that. Because first is putting up the requirements, then the identifying the needs, and the utility entire system will come upon that. And the demand to have the aggregator, and aggregator ke baad bhi basically the platform where multiple aggregators can chip in. And I was just being a part of a panel discussion yesterday. And in that, Tata Power just cited one example. They have been a pioneer in implementing this demand response and all that along the BS and other utilities. They cited in this year alone, they are able to 16 cases, 16 instances, 500, nearly 400 to 500 megawatt they are able to manage through the demand response. And what was the benefit out of that? What is the use case further? They were saying just from the reward and recognition of the consumers, nearly 1.5 lakh of consumers using that. But now we have to move it further to give it a business use case. For that, of course, we have to put the utilities on board. And of course, not last but the least, the consumers have to be shown the case that they are going to be benefited. With the smart meters, TOD, and TOD, then we have to make it like dynamic in the times to come, so that they can really benefit. And that, from that perspective, the aggregator roles is very much essential. They have to come, they have to ensure the utility there is a certain potential they have, they will be able to pitch in no time. Because this Tata Power was 1 hour earlier, but they don't have the entire system in place to make it real time and to work it as a business case. That is where the aggregators come in, that is the must requirement. And giving price signals in real time and other things like that, so that everybody is benefited, because this is a mutual benefit scheme. And of course, in that regard, I think keeping that in mind, if we go forward and further this TOD and everything in coming in place and smart meters well in place in that time, and from ministry side or from NSGM side or from EGS, which I'm also looking at the part of the director, expert group of smart metering to give the policy support to the ministry. So we've already sanctioned certain smart distribution projects to the utilities, where these pilots we have initiated. But I think I will request all the aggregators to come on board. Already the tender has been finalized and more would be coming in offering. There we have to demonstrate the case and a financial beneficial business models. So I think that is my initial thoughts on that, and it's a very opportune thing to happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Atulji. I just have a small follow-on question. So you talked about some pilots being supported by the ministry and the NSGM. So would you imagine demand flexibility to become like a very distinct and very prominent component of those pilots that you are rolling out in the smart metering?
We have put that particular smart grid intervention or smart distribution, and they have to demonstrate it to that. And we have given. Varanasi is the first of them. So they have finalized already. And I think others are utility also coming on board. First is basically demonstrate, that is what I spoke about and topic what I'm discussing. From funding, it has to come to a basically financing model, but everybody is getting benefited. And that is the real challenge. And if we are able to demonstrate and the many aggregators coming on board, I think that is the real thing. So I think the earlier topic, जैसे हम बात कर रहे थे अभी, I think Mr. Sumit was talking earlier, हमें चाहिए क्या? That is must has to be sure. हमें ये चाहिए और ये चीजें करके दिखानी है, then only it will go. Because enough potential is there, ecosystem is already in place. Smart meters are there, every data would be in real time would be getting, we have TOD, we have government on board, everybody is getting into that. Regulators are also showing the way. Now to demonstrate. For demonstration of particular model, I think that need to come, and we are very much prepared for that. And giving the RES penetration, going by that other thing, I will maybe in the time to come, maybe in the follow-up discussion, we can
Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Atulji. My question is to Arshi next. So, Arshi, I think first of all, we'd love to get an idea of what you guys are doing for the audience as well, if you could give a quick brief on that. But the larger question for you is, you're talking about aggregators, platforms, etc., and you're one of the stakeholders who's trying to build something on that front. So what do you think are the different models for aggregators to participate in India, and how would they support demand flexibility initiatives going forward?
Thank you, Arjun. Very good morning to all. So I'm the co-founder at Electric. Right now, we are working into DER asset management. We are building a hardware and a software solution to enable the aggregator marketplace, basically. So coming down to the business model, as of today, what we majorly need to think and what ESL is working on is, how do you buy and sell flexibility, which is as much as energy as a generation resource would be. So an aggregator can be a market participant if we allow that aggregator to buy and sell flexibility on the markets. At the same time as a virtual power plant, an aggregator can pool in different kinds of resources, whether it's battery, solar, and treat it as a single dispatchable resource that can provide services whenever the utilities or the market in general needs. And then it can always demand, manage the demand when it comes to the individual households as well. Now, when we talk about the aggregators, the major thing is how do you pool the resources? When we go out to individual households, the quantum is so small that it may not account for much. But once an aggregator whose pure motivation would be to provide a service to a stakeholder, they will make sure that they engage the customer, they enroll the customer, and provide the service whenever the grid actually needs it. So that's where the aggregators can really provide value.
Great, thank you. And I think just a follow-up question on that for you, Arshi, is that I think one of the panelists spoke about how M&V also is a big challenge. How do you see providers like yourself and aggregators overcoming this challenge of M&V, especially when you talk about demand flexibility programs? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, with the demand flexibility programs, the major issue right now would be there are no market frameworks. I mean, if there is a market, the players are going to come, because right now, whatever the devices are coming online, they are actually capable of providing all of these services. So it's not the tech problem as per se, it's a market problem at this point in time. So if the regulator, the market recognizes the value of these resources, they can somehow find a way to quantify it, I think the market will develop in no time.
Thank you, Arshi.
Thank you. I think that's an excellent segue to the next question to Abhishek ji from ESL. So we are seeing sort of two sides of a spectrum. One is large companies like Schneider, Honeywell, and so on and so forth, who have the capability to do the data management, and they're also implementing SAP and ERP systems for various distribution licenses. And you have startups, and our last count was at least 50 startups in India that have some or the other kind of solution to contribute in the demand flexibility opportunities. And we have Arshi here on the panel. We have a few already displayed outside in this very conference. So how do you really see the role of these two sides of the spectrum coming together, and ESL acting as a super ESCO or a super aggregator to bring all of them together? So Abhishek.
So as I said earlier, that it's not the aggregator, actually it is the aggregator of aggregators that is important for it to be a sizable number to have a definite impact on the grid. I personally feel that as far as technology is concerned, we have still not been able to, just see the tip of the iceberg. And a lot of things are yet to come. And that's where we find that if more and more startups, new technological solutions are coming up, it is our responsibility to give them a platform where they can actually make a definite impact. And that's what has been the basic philosophy for ESL, similar to we could do in lighting and fan industry. We went not only to the large corporates, we went to MSME sector, we dealt at the cluster level to understand their problems and issues, to address them and give them a better platform to serve through the customers. Similar approach with this platform, what we are making is trying to do. So we'll try to standardize the terms with DISCOMs on the one side, We'll definitely have a definite role of regulators who would be guiding us to be on the right path to actually get the monetization done. On the other side, since we will be having so many new and smart people coming up with their own solutions, they would also need some hand-holding in terms of the standardization of the terms of performance, terms of agreements, terms of payments, and payment security as well, to make them confident to not only come up with their solutions, rather make some good amount of money as well. And this comes very naturally to us because we believe in energy efficiency, and we understand that any energy saved at the consumption side is at least double of the energy saved at generation side. And that has been the motto, and that has been the way ESL has been doing, and we would be definitely doing our bit in this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Next question is for Mukeshji again. So we talk about demand response in these panels, of course, but you are the one on the front lines trying to run these programs, right? And you've had the most experience trying to get these programs off the ground, talking to consumers, engaging with them. So what do you see are the key concerns and expectations of customers who participate in these programs? And what are the ways to address these challenges that consumers face when trying to participate in these programs?
Yeah, Arjun. So I mentioned that consumer is going to be the most important stakeholder in designing any program or business model. And in that, perhaps the onboarding of consumer is again the most important thing. And during the course of our 3-4 pilots, what we felt that consumers are coming to participate in the program just because of DISCOMs are saying. So currently the situation is this only. DISCOM बोल रहा था चलो कर लेते हैं, and it's a matter of couple of months only. So it should not affect my daily routine or some kind of that. But ultimately we have to find a way. How can we connect the different devices which different companies are selling, home automation and other automation product with the demand response? So can we couple both these scores, and along with also some awareness around in what manner they are contributing to the society or power sector by reducing the peak, maybe some reduction in carbon footprints. And so we have to show them a larger cause, because what we have understood that the maximum relief or flexibility will be coming from an affluent class, because they are having big appliances, or what we call that them is that energy guzzlers. So they are not bothered about this 100 or 200 or 300 rupees per month getting out of this demand response. So there has to be some lucrative driver which hits them at mental level. They will not be coming to you for this 200, 400 rupees. So ultimately, the kind of awareness and the education, we have to design an entirely different model. And as we see that this home automation market is also slowly picking up, new buildings and new projects are already coming up with these home automation kind of things. And there is already an element, we heard Snyder people in last panel, that there is an element of energy efficiency, or you can say energy audit, where a consumer can know how can he reduce the energy consumption of my air conditioning unit or geyser or whatever devices. So at that point, perhaps involvement of DISCOM, whether this device could be coupled with any sort of programs run by DISCOM in the demand flexibility of demand response field. So that has to be, OEMs have to come and sell their products with this possibility as well, that tomorrow there could be some programs where they could be benefited in these senses as well, not only monetary terms, but also they will be contributing towards reduction of peak load as well. So then the cost of the appliances, if you are going by automatic demand response, then obviously the consumers who are not willing to invest that much of money of home automation is again a challenge. M&V per se is the, again, a challenge because it's we have to devise some rules. Smart meter penetration in India, you know that I still have to pick up. So with the set of conventional electronic meter, downloaded data of half an hour interval, how will you measure and verify and compensate to the consumers? So these are some of the things where we have to discuss and come out with the solutions as well. So these are primarily 3-4 concerns we have to address in order to achieve a successful demand response program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mukesh.
Thank you. Now let's turn to Atulji again. So demand flexibility is pretty much a distribution function, but some of the distribution sector reforms have been pushed by at the national level by central government. So if we were to imagine demand flexibility to be taken up in India throughout the country, which would substantially add value to bring in the inform renewable energy in the system. What are the things that you would advise us that need to happen at the national level so that the aggregator-based demand flexibility market would sort of take shape? So that's one part of the question, and there are two small other parts. One is there's an incremental cost to enable demand flexibility with the existing infrastructure on smart metering that is already available. So is there any role that we can set certain standards upfront so that all future investments that go into the smart grids, etc., would already embed demand flexibility aggregator-based ready model to be deployed? Atulji.
I think one point I would like to add, I think what has been missed about, to demonstrate a use case basically. In that, I think one of the most essential requirement is getting the data. And to test that use case and to demonstrate that there is so much of propensity of availability which can be utilized by the distribution utility. In that, the aggregator and the technical part has to be properly there so that, let's say, with the availability of data still at the transmission level and all that, people are getting it from the gridco and everything is being published. And I think the 15 minutes data, that is the smart meter requirement as such. How will a aggregator or the deployment who are thinking of doing that deployment and giving a business case to that, how they are going to demonstrate that? In that case, I think we have been working in that regard. Of course, that is a part of the entire ecosystem to work upon. That is developing RESTful APIs and so that all utility data could be available, and even with the compliance with the DPDP and other actors like that. So there should be a study, what is the peak load actually, and what is the possibility of giving a benefit to the peak pricing and other thing to the utility. And then coming down to what we have said, a regulator has to role to play, and you are saying incremental cost and everything, and to play that role and to make inbuilt in the requirements. And that is, I think, we have been working upon giving a guideline with respect to the dynamic of the TODs and to that to utilities. And coming that, I think finally it will be the simplification of the entire exercise. And I think that is a way and to showcase in the pilots or the smart distribution utility what we are asking for. That is the way ahead, I think. To give proof of the, what we say is the, what is that the famous quote is the proof of the pudding is in eating only. So I think that has to be shown in that case. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great. Arshi, last question for you. So obviously you're working in the area of technology and research is an important part. So two-part question. One is, what are some of the most biggest emerging trends in the field of demand flexibility aggregation? Could be in India, could be global as well. And what are the key research areas that you think is required in India to be explored to get market development for aggregators and demand flexibility off the ground?
Sure. So to answer to the first question, right now the major development would be AI and ML in demand response or in demand management in general, because that is something that can make sure, because when we're talking about demand, it's a very real-time kind of a flexibility that we require, and we would want to keep the constraints at the center of it, whenever we're talking about a comfort of the end consumer or the grids restriction or something like that, so the constraints could be managed. Second thing would be blockchain for the to make sure the settlements or any of these transactions are kept in an immutable ledger, that because it's a regulated industry, at the end of the day, we would like to go back to a ledger where we can verify whether whatever we claimed did actually happen. Third thing would be, of course, smart metering, as well as whatever devices, whether it's EV chargers and all of these are coming up. These are quite smart devices that offer various flexibilities, especially solar inverters at this point in time, like from grid regulation to reactive power injection, whatnot. So how do you utilize that? And final thing would be smart home. Just like Mukeshji said, smart home penetration is becoming well equipped. So smart AC is one of the major loads. So even that all of these devices are coming online. So that's one of the technological evolution that has come forth. And the second question to that would be...
What are the key research areas that you think
Key
needs to be
research
looked at?
right now would be UEI, of course. So Unified Energy Interface is one of the revolutionary protocols, because when we started a year back, we were not aware of UEI. So we figured out that maybe we'll have to create our own protocol. We'll have to figure it out. But with UEI, what is happening is that there's one energy internet and every unit counts, no matter where it comes out from. So it makes sure that whenever we're talking about demand response, we can actually get to that 500 gigawatt level without getting into the obsolete technologies or like isolated areas of the whole thing. We can just combine the quantum and act on it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think with that, I'll pass it back to our MC and open up the discussion from the audience. If there are any questions anyone has, would love to hear them.
So I'm sure we'll be having mics in the room, so please do sort of indicate who you are addressing your question to. And oh yeah, sure. In the meantime, Mukeshji is also sort of jumping into.
So, in terms of designing any sort of demand response or demand flexibility programs, my other take is that catch the consumer as early as possible. And we know that this electric vehicle load is fast evolving. So can we involve them into the demand response program as early as possible? Can we have that kind of policy or guidance to have smart managed EV charging station? We have already done pilot around that theme, which the charging station can sense the signals coming from a SCADA center. Yes, there is congestion or market price hike or something like that. And the output of that charger, if it is delivering 60 kilowatt, then it can reduce to 30 kilowatt or 20 kilowatt, as the case may be for the time period 15 minutes or 20 minutes. So we have that kind of technology. Only thing is that we have to provide the right kind of policy framework or regulatory framework to enable them to participate. One more example could be that the battery swapping stations are coming in a big way. So can we make them bi-directional? Because we know that during night hours or maybe during the off hours where commercial business is not there and the batteries are lying there in charge condition, are they in a position to push back the power to the grid whenever demanded at a mutually consented rate or maybe rate given by the regulator as well? So we have to find innovative ways as well, although it's right to focus domestic side or maybe some other side as well, but this EV load which is coming or evolving in a fast way, can we address these kind of challenges or issues at the very start of that? So that's my point.
I think I can answer one of the questions based on what's happening outside of India. So auto manufacturers like Ford, GM, Tesla, when they sell their car and their EV charger, they auto-enroll the consumer in a demand response program. And they offer a small discount saying that, hey, if you auto-enroll, here's a small 5% discount on the car. And automatically, EV chargers are essentially like alarm clocks. You essentially just say turn off at 10 p.m. and turn on at 4 a.m. and you want your car charged by 6 a.m. So that's already happening, and I think it's one of the lowest hanging fruits for demand response to happen in India as well.
Yeah, thanks, Arjun. Very important contribution.
I think we have a question.
Any questions?
My name is Suresh. My question is to Mr. Atul. We have seen incidents of thieves browsing social media of potential targets in order to plan their work. Is there a possibility of thieves using software to remotely monitor the smart meters in order to do similar thing?
Can you repeat the question, please, again?
Like we have heard incidents of thieves monitoring social media of their targets in order to plan their thefts. Like
Okay. You are asking the question regarding the basically cyber security issue regarding that they are monitoring the movement of a consumer so that to make a plan according to that. Are you asking this?
Yes, this is my question.
This is the question?
Yes.
Okay. This is related to smart metering as such, not to the demand flexibility and all that. Anyway, so there is enough provision, I think, to access that. I think it is very difficult to get into a breakthrough into that requirement. And that is just because where will be having the interface with that requirement. You have to have access to the MDM and other things like that. And there is adequate cyber security measures built into that. I don't think there is any challenge per se at the moment. But of course, the government is looking from all perspectives so that nobody can penetrate into that. That is the BFA is there, multi-factor authentication is there, to have a different cloud service provider. They have to comply with the MAT guidance and all that. So enough provision have been built up to that. I don't think there is any probability at the moment in this regard.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions from the floor? So I have a question for Arshi in the meantime. So Arjun, you talked about the EV charging stations, including the ones from Tesla, Ford, and so on, already embedding demand response. And Arshi, you have been working with a lot of end-use side solarization. And we have this big PM Surya Ghar Yojana. So what are your thoughts on creating some market enablers so that all of those assets, I don't know, in crores, right, to be already available as flexible opportunities?
Yes, absolutely. So we believe, like we've been talking to discoms. Discoms are giving so many provisions and benefits to the end consumers. The least they can do is sign up to these programs. We are not telling that they will be calling them for every event, but at least they give us the permission. So whenever we were to conduct a pilot, it would work. So especially when it comes to, so in Delhi, you have special EV meters. So if you're getting a special EV meter, you're getting a special tariff. That is the least you can do is sign up to a program as such, so you can help when the help is actually needed. Even for solar as well, the visibility is the major concern of any discom. So right now we have to understand how the patterns have changed. There's a huge generation during the daytime on a distributed network. There's a huge consumption during the nighttime on the distribution network. The thing is there is no visibility because it's not mandated. Now for Kusum Yojana, PM Kusum Yojana, this has been mandated. So you want a subsidy, you want to get online, you want to get your billing done, you'll have to bring the systems online. So this same kind of a policy can be done for the solar inverters, for any DER assets. Now also we are working on the solar national registry where all of these assets are going to come forth. So even for the demand and forecasting, like we have so many startups coming up with forecasting tools and all of those things, but at the same time, you're not even accounting for these units. Those are actually practical generation sources on somebody's roof.
Thank you.
Great. I think we can close the panel then. One last exit poll question I have for the panel here, and you can answer just a yes or a no. Can aggregator-based models help drive demand flexibility in India? Yes or no?
Yes.
Absolutely.
We have a unanimous answer to that. So fingers crossed, and I'll pass it back to the MC then. Oh, Sumit.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. So I also had one question. Maybe I will ask all the panelists before I get into the report launch. So sir, we all know that demand response has a use case, but it will not stop people to not plant coal plants. Okay, whatever the coal plants have to come, we don't have right now that commitment or conviction saying that, okay, we'll not have coal plant, we'll have demand response who will be able to meet that evening peak. So resource, what Atulji was mentioning, and I appreciate that Ministry of Power is thinking about smart distribution projects. What we perhaps need is states demonstrate that DR is really a resource which can be utilized. And then only we can have that kind of a commitment which is coming from at a national level. So sir, any national program apart from smart distribution we are thinking, if you can just highlight something about that?
Not yet, Sumesh ji, but एक चीज बिल्कुल clear है. Basically, what I've been discussing, use cases, requirement from technical perspective and overall grid resilience perspective, stability perspective, that is very much there. And it is to be there, it is more being felt because of the penetration of the RE resources and everything like that. And to manage that, the government investment, government empowering the consumer, this rooftop PM Surya Ghar Yojana and all that. And yesterday also we were discussing the decentralization of this RE capacity building. It should not be, we should not be building HVDC and further lines to evacuate the RE power. We have to decentralize this also, making microgrids and other thing work it's like that. And in that case also this flexibility would come in. As Arshi was talking, as Mukesh was talking also, committed demand flexibility. One is the commitment and delivering that and flexibility. That has to be synchronized. And for that, I think everybody has to work together. As we are talking behind the meter and all that, in previous session also, otherwise the B reports also, this AC load has to grow like anything. Ab AC hum denge, I think 2 years back I was in US, I think California also. They were selling the 5-star other ACs, they have made a center like that and they were automatically rolling them. So I think utility like BSA and Tata Power already done that type of program that have been taken forward. कि हम ये देंगे आपको डिस्काउंट पे देना, get automatically enrolled in this program. And then aggregator they have to formulate the strategy कि हाँ जी peak load management आपका होगा, peak pricing कितनी बढ़िया अच्छी होगी. That they have to go and convince the utility also. They have to come on board. They should realize the benefit. Consumer तो ठीक है, smart meters also they are able to manage. We have the mobile app, we have the visibility, and I think I am very happy to share. There was so much of apprehension कि मेरा जो low end consumer है जो 100 रुपए की बिजली लेता है उसको smart meter लगा के क्या करोगे आप? And they are the major beneficiaries in Bihar that I am happy to share the largest prepaid, mind it, it's a prepaid installation that is in Bihar. All meters, nearly 50 to 60 lakhs, 5 to 6 million smart meters, out of nearly 20 million are in Bihar and Assam. They are the leading one demonstrating the use cases. And because they are realizing the benefit, they can charge it any time for that communication infrastructure have they built up. Overall ecosystem is working together. And they can very well, they don't have to pay any reconnection charges. They have a complete bill transparency. मुझे जितनी दिन चाहिए होगा उतनी देर चलाऊंगा और फिर कनेक्ट कर लूंगा. But there I think the aggregator and the technology innovation, I think Umesh was talking earlier. भाई हमें वो उनको बताना पड़ेगा ये आपको benefit मिलना है. और ये benefit में we have to convince them. Everybody would not be having ACs, but other things are in place and they are very much prudent where to use and where to not to use. So I think there is the whole ecosystem, I think the stakeholders have to work together. It's not that utility कहेगा कि मेरे पे RPO लगा दिया मेरे पे तो वैसे ही आपने हालत खराब किया RES में. How will be spending the energy? So we have to convince them there is a use case and there is a very much fitting use case and more so with the deployment of so much of smart meters. Of course, data, that is, we are going to resolve that also so that everybody should be able to get the data. They have to comply with the requirements. And I think I'm very happy to see that startup like Inka, Arshi, and I'm very happy to note that so much promising things are to come. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think very, very informative, meaningful session and moderators played an excellent job as well as speakers. So I think I will also take this opportunity to, in your august presence, to launch a publication that presents the learnings from the automated demand response pilot that was done in Delhi. This was done in collaboration and partnership with BACS Yamuna. Mukesh ji is here, and also Schneider Electric. So a quick sneak peek. Can I have that projection, please? So meanwhile that slides are coming through, I guess we all know that demand response can play a pivotal role in reducing peak electricity demand, elevating grid stress, and also enhancing the grid reliability. This first of kind pilot in India actually focused on automating the process of demand response, which further boosted the effectiveness of DR efforts so that the response is quick and consistent. Basically, this pilot focused on residential air conditioners and utilized long-range solution communication architecture, triggering DR events across different times and different months. So there are a lot many things in that publication, but the three main highlights I would like to share with everyone is that the automated DR or the auto DR that we call, it increase the customer convenience and also their satisfaction manifold, because it was an automation. It was not where they have to ensure that the events are getting triggered. And since the process was automated, so discoms also felt more confident that they can rely on customer behavior. And it makes DR more predictable like a supply side resource solution. So that is again something which discoms liked. And the auto DR also was able to respond more quickly to the challenges, or the response time was so good that any critical thing happened, any critical event happened, discoms were able to act fast. This pilot also demonstrated that benefit to cost ratio was pretty positive, and if we can carefully plan and deploy, it can actually offer some substantial benefits in terms of deferred capital, upgrading distribution infrastructure, and also a pretty attractive payback. So I'm sure that audience here will find many valuable information, and to unveil this exciting new resource, please join me in welcoming Mr. Satish Kumar, Ms. Damini from Schneider, and also the panel members here to the stage for this incredible resource, please. I can have Paras also, please. Let's celebrate the milestone. A huge round of applause, everyone. I mean, this is a wonderful report. So the report is now available online, and also anyone can access with the scan code which we have here.
Thank you everyone for your enthusiastic participation and making this session a great one. I now kindly invite Mr. Sumed Agarwal to please present a token of appreciation to the esteemed panelists. Thank you RMI and MPN Systems for being knowledge partners to AEEE and co-curating this session. Also, in addition to this, I encourage everyone to definitely visit Flexibility Gateway and